This is breaking news from WTWO.
Good morning. I'm Dana Winklepleck. We are following some breaking news out of Illinois this Saturday morning. Illinois State Police say at least 5 people have died after a semi-truck carrying anhydrous ammonia overturned on US 40 last night near Teutopolis. Yeah, that's near Teutopolis. The crash involved multiple vehicles, resulted in a leak of the hazardous material. Illinois State Police say again at least 5 people have died. Police say that due to a plume from the ammonia leak in the northeastern part of Teutopolis, it was evacuated. U.S. Highway 40 between Teutopolis and Montreux closed. Emergency crews have been on the scene. Again, Illinois State Police say at least 5 people have died. A news conference now getting underway at the Effingham County Sheriff's Department. We're going to take you there live. Now, you do want to listen closely because the audio may be a little difficult to hear. But again, heading out to a news conference in Effingham County.
U.S. Highway 40. At approximately 9:25 p.m., ISP was alerted to a separate crash that occurred around 8:40 p.m. on U.S. Highway 40, about a half-mile east of Teutopolis, involving multiple vehicles, including a tanker truck leaking anhydrous ammonia. Due to the plume from the ammonia leak, the people within an approximate 1-mile radius of the crash on U.S. Highway 40, including the northeastern parts of Teutopolis, were evacuated. The plume also created dangerous conditions and the crews were not immediately accessible to the scene of the crash. U.S. Highway 40 between Teutopolis and Montreux, they are closed due to the crash and remain closed at this time. The cause of this crash is still under investigation. The ISP will continue to investigate the crash, including traffic crash reconstruction. ISP will remain on site to assist as fire and hazmat crews handle the tanker and ammonia leak. With more information about the ammonia leak and what is being done, I'd like to turn it over to Teutopolis Fire Protection District Chief Tim McMahon.
Tim McMahon, MCMAHON, Fire Chief for the Teutopolis Fire Protection District. Last night the tanker was carrying anhydrous ammonia and began leaking after it was rolled over in the ditch. For the last few hours, we've been working hard on a plan to offload the tanker. Late last night, the hazmat team had patched the ruptured area of the tanker, which slowed it down, but it did not stop the leak. At that time last night, right after the call, we did enact a reverse 911 plan after arriving on the scene. That plan covered approximately 2 square miles. This morning, we're still continuing to barricade and prevent motorists from traveling near the spilled area. Currently working on getting our plan together, and that's what I'm going to do when I get back. So,
as mentioned earlier, we'll try to take a few questions. I will say that there is information that we don't have, but if you have a question that we can answer, we'd be more than happy to.
Could you explain the 5 deaths again? The people that died, was it involved in the wreck or was it residents from the leak?
I don't have all that information. And anything I'd say would be closer to conjecture, but the accident scene was large where this happened.
Do we have some kind of information on the capacity of this tanker? I mean, do you know, Tim?
no, I really don't know.
Okay.
If it's a semi-tanker, well, it is. It's a semi-tanker. And I believe that they're about 7,500 gallon. That's my terms in layman terms.
Okay.
Is how big a tanker it should have been.
Yeah. And Ryan, did you work just on the, I just want to make sure from what was said a little earlier, you just worked on evacuating the east side of T-Town at first and then expanded it, or how did that work?
The east side of T-Town was evacuated as per guidelines that are set forth for hazardous materials and dealing with the specific material we had still.
And Lieutenant, you mentioned that we had another wreck on I-70, and then we had diversion, we had a detour along 40, And I just want to make sure the tanker was in that traffic, or had it already had that wreck?
The tanker was in the diverted traffic.
Okay.
And then had the crash.
What's your advice for the residents? How long will this take for them to be able to get back into their homes? Do you guys have a time period on that?
No. I know that there are a lot of people out there that are working very hard to get that product out of there, to get it offloaded. Once we get the product offloaded and away from the scene, then I think things will return back to normal fairly quickly. But it is a complicated situation because of the accident, the damage done to the trailer and to the truck, and it flipped over. So that is what is causing most of the trouble.
I've noticed people pulling up to the state troopers along the road and wanting to get back to their homes. That would patience be your advice to some of them? I know you guys are trying to do as quickly as possible.
Well, I understand. I understand how frustrating that would be to not be allowed to travel or to go back home. But we really need to focus our resources on this spill and on this situation. So if people could have as much patience, that's what I would ask for. And they'll get it. They'll get it cleaned up. They will get it, but it's a complicated scene. There are a lot of people working hard on it.
But I can follow up with that question. Tim and folks at Teutopolis, all the Teutopolis Fire Protection District, everybody involved. I went through town this morning, and they're working as hard as they can. So just patience on this. When something happens such as this, just give these guys a little bit of time. They've been up since this happened, and they're really trying to reach a resolution as quickly as possible, get everybody back in their homes safely.
Question, the current weather conditions, we don't have any prevailing wind or anything like that. We've had a heavy fog. Has that added to some of the frustration in this situation?
Yes, it has. We kind of fought that all night last night. This wind changed 3 or 4 different times on us. So that's another reason we got crews out at different places, kind of report back on which way the wind's going.
And we've been getting up to date and constant weather reports from the National Weather Service, which helps. But any amount of wind or weather will complicate this process immensely. They're not calling for a lot, but any change makes things difficult.
What makes the anhydrous so dangerous? Just to update our viewers on the gas itself.
Anhydrous, and Tim, I'm sorry, you're probably better to answer this, but it attaches itself to mucous membranes and moist surfaces. It's terrible. It's bad stuff if you are involved in it, breathe it, especially because it gets in your airways, in your lungs, and it burns.
Did we have some people who have been air-evac to hospitals in the region? Is anybody aware of that?
We airlifted 5 people out, I think, for a total last night. One by ground and airlifted 5.
So 5 airlifted and then 1 by ground.
Yep.
Did any senior living facilities or group homes have to be evacuated as part of the evacuations?
Yeah, I do not know.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
There are any, excuse me, those reside in Effingham. There aren't any in the Teutopolis. Okay, without any further questions, thank you, folks. This will be a very fluid situation. We'll be back again later on this afternoon with updates. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
So again, you have been listening to a news conference involving the Effingham County Sheriff's Department and other first responders. Again, the area there near Teutopolis where this wreck happened is closed. That is the road between Teutopolis and Montrose, US 40. There was, as you heard, a crash on I-70. Traffic was then diverted onto 40, and that is where the crash happened on US 40. The tanker truck overturned, leaking anhydrous ammonia. You heard the sheriff say that, man, once anhydrous ammonia gets in the air, you can die from it. There are 5 people who have passed away. Not sure if they died as a result of the crash or as the result of the anhydrous ammonia leak. An investigation, of course, underway to determine all of those things. We, of course, are continuing to follow this story. We obviously have a crew there at the scene. We have other crews heading that way as well. We will keep you updated, both on air. We'll keep you updated online on our website, mywabashvalley.com, and also on our social media pages. But one more time, for people who may just be joining us, Illinois State Police say that at least 5 people have died following an wreck over near Teutopolis, Illinois.
WTWO.